Hey, 42 here. If you've ever thought to yourself that your family's Christmas traditions were a bit, well, weird, then you're not alone. There are some incredibly strange legends and customs surrounding Christmas time, and what you do on Christmas Day can be vastly different depending on where you live. Here are 7 of the strangest Christmas traditions from around the world. Iceland has its fair share of strange Christmas legends, from child-eating cats to Grýla the troll. But one in particular, the Yule lads, holds a place in every Icelandic child's heart. In the past, they were seen as mischievous sons of mountain trolls, harassing farmers and the general population. But over time, the Yule lads became much more benevolent, in the same way that Santa Claus is portrayed today as a magical stocking-filling bringer of joy. On the night before December the 12th, children all over Iceland would put one of their shoes out on the windowsill, then head to bed with a smile on their face, or a worried frown if they've misbehaved. The 13 Yule lads would then come down one by one on the nights leading up to Christmas Eve. Depending on whether the children had been good or bad, the Yule lads would leave sweets and presents, or rotten potatoes in their shoes. Whilst potatoey shoes were definitely a real concern for some kids, the Icelandic folk customs branch had to step in and discourage parents from giving out such extravagant gifts, as the Yule lads were seen to be favouring some kids far more than others. The awareness campaign advised parents through media and kindergartens, hoping to reduce the festive gap between rich and poor families. The festive spirit of the Yule lads remains well and strong today, perhaps because today they more closely resemble Santa Claus than the more sullen image of the morose mountain trolls that their ancestors from the 1700s possessed. Every year in the Cuban town of Remedios, a transformation takes place. In the run-up to Christmas, the town splits into 2, and the preparation for the Parrandas festival begins. There is a long-standing tradition of competition between 2 neighbourhoods in the town. San Salvador, represented by a rooster, and El Carmen, represented by a hawk. These 2 sides of the town prepare all year to battle it out for the title of Best Christmas Festival. This isn't your usual friendly competition between you and your neighbour to see who has the most Christmas lights. This is an all-out battle extravaganza that goes back centuries. Not only do the residents meticulously decorate their houses in the themes and colours of their district, but each host their own fireworks show and float to be presented in the main display. Magnificent costumes and dancing in the streets to a wide orchestra of music accompanies the festivities. You would think you're at Carnival, except there are Christmas decorations everywhere instead of samba dancers. The festival finds its roots in the 18th century, when the priest in the Grand Cathedral of Remedios sent out children to gather people up for Christmas Mass. The children would have pots, pans and spoons and would run around the town making noise and singing songs to attract people and lead them to the Mass. Over time, this developed into the fantastically extravagant street party that we see today. Whilst this isn't necessarily a strange tradition, it's one of unusual intensity, even when compared to hotspots of Christmas festivities around Britain and the United States. The festivities are so extravagant and infectious that nearby Cuban towns host their own versions with their own competing districts every year. I'm sure you've had Christmas carolers knocking on your door and singing songs to you before, but what about mummers? This bizarre tradition actually has a few forms across most of Europe, but in Latvia it is particularly well established and accepted as a local custom. Latvian mumming, done by mummers, is a bit like the traditional Christmas carolers, but there's a twist. Mummers dress up as all kinds of creatures, from wolves to goats, fortune tellers and bears, and other amazingly surreal costumes. They are usually warmly welcomed into homes as they are believed to drive away evil spirits with their costumes, dancing and singing. These days it's more of a festive tradition for good food and good company than a superstitious one. If you happen to recognise the voices of any of the mummers, then they must immediately take off their mask. Because of this, mummers usually alter their voices and mannerisms to avoid being recognised whilst mumming, sometimes adopting peculiar and eccentric personas. In the end, there's a lot of joyful singing, eating and dancing, which adds to the local festive spirit, which is always nice around Christmas. Latvia isn't the only country where a Christmas tradition has developed which results in food and drink for the performers. Something similar, but with a wackier twist, takes place across villages in southern Wales. Mari Lwyd is a local folk custom that takes place on Christmas. The actual meaning behind Mari Lwyd is disputed to this day. Some people think it means grey mare, referring to the horse head, as well as Lwyd being a common term for grey. Others believe it translates to Holy Mary, a key figure in Welsh Catholicism. Whatever it means, it's definitely recognisable when it comes to your village. Groups of men and women, often dressed in flamboyant costumes such as Punch and Judy, would carry the Mari Lwyd, which is a horse's skull on top of a stick dressed in a frock, through towns, whilst playing music. They would travel from house to house, and when they got to your door, they would break out in song, asking to be invited inside. It's customary to sing back, and if you choose to, deny entry with an excuse. This will go back and forth until either the troupe gives up, leaving and going to the next house, or the homeowner runs out of excuses and is obliged to let them in. Once inside, the troupe puts on a performance, where the Mari Lwyd chases around adults and children alike, snapping its jaws with the leader pretending helplessly to subdue it. Mari Lwyd isn't the only troublemaker in the troupe either, as Punch will even use his poker to rake out the fire if the homeowner didn't forbid it before they entered the house. Food and drinks will be served to the troupe as thanks for their performance and in return for their blessing. The earliest records of this bizarre tradition come from the 19th century, but the actual origins aren't clear. Many think the Mari Lwyd is an offshoot from pre-Christian pagan rituals involving other hooded animals. Either way, it's definitely meant as a goodwill sentiment, but at the same time it's certainly one of the stranger Christmas traditions out there, because nothing says Merry Christmas like a horse's skull. Christmas in Venezuela is a particularly important time of the year in the heavily Catholic country, but in the capital of Caracas, they take it to a whole new and exciting level for the pious morning journey to Mass. Something which has seemingly developed out of nowhere is the tradition of roller skating to church during the weeks leading up to Christmas. From the 16th to the 24th of December, most roads are closed until 8 AM to allow the skaters to get to Mass safely. During this time you will see streets full of people skating by with their families. Because the children usually go to bed early for the morning Mass, they have devised a cunning way to get up on time. Some children will tie string around their big toe and dangle it from their bedroom window. Roller skaters passing by will then tug on the string to wake the children up. Personally, I prefer to use an alarm clock to get up in the morning, but I guess getting pulled out of bed by your big toe is also a viable option. Remember that time when you beat a log with a stick while singing a song to make it poop out a shiny new bicycle? No? Well, that's what children all over Catalonia will be doing this Christmas. It sounds bizarre, but it's actually an extremely common tradition that has a big following in the Catalonian community. It's centred on decorating and looking after Tio de Nadal, the Christmas log. The log is actually pretty adorable when fully decorated, with a painted face, a hat and a blanket, with some versions having little legs that prop it up. Leading up to Christmas, it's customary to give Tio a little bit of food to eat and cover him with a blanket to keep him comfortable and warm. The better looked after Tio is, the better the presents he is supposed to provide. I say provide, but I actually mean crap out. Each family has a slightly different version of the tradition, but generally on Christmas Day, they put Tio halfway into the fire and beat it with sticks to make it defecate presents. No, really, I'm serious. There's also a very popular song which is sung during the log beating gift defecation ceremony. Parents usually send the kids out and ask them to pray for good gifts whilst they beat the log, as a nifty way to sneak presents under Tio's blanket whilst they're not looking. Even though the way Tio is supposed to produce the presents is a little odd, it's still easy to see the charm of the little wooden fellow. The lyrics to the song are also pretty interesting to say the least. You probably decorate your Christmas tree with lights, tinsel and baubles. But in Ukraine, you might find something pretty unexpected draped around the tree. It's common for people there to decorate their trees with fake webs and even ornamental spiders. It might seem like they are a few months late to Halloween, But there's actually a reason for the creepy crawly shenanigans. The story goes that a poor but hard-working widow lived in a small hut with her children. One fateful day, a pine cone fell to the earthen floor and took root, invigorating the children with the chance of having a Christmas tree by winter. The children took care of the tree, helping it to grow. But by the time Christmas came around, the poor family didn't have the money to decorate it, so they went to bed on Christmas Eve with heavy hearts. When they woke up on Christmas Day, they were surprised to find the tree was covered in spiders' webs, and as they opened the windows to get a better look at it, the sunlight hit the webs, turning them to silver and gold. Needless to say, the family never lived in poverty again, or at least that's how the folktale goes. The legend is widely believed as the origin of putting tinsel on Christmas trees, representing the gold and silver of the transformed spider webs. It's amazing to see just how many different ways people celebrate Christmas all over the world. Some may be stranger than others, but all of them are based on the same universal Christmas spirit. Thanks for the view, and Merry Christmas!